Today let's start with the prose in Module 2, Opportunities for the Youth. The author of this lesson is Jawaharlal Nehru. We all know that he was the first Prime Minister of India. He is known to be the architect of modern India. He was a versatile genius and also a gifted writer. Some of his books are Letter from Father to His Daughter, Glimpses of World History, an autobiography, and the Discovery of India. His writings reflect the depth of his knowledge on Indian culture and civilization. This lesson, Opportunities for the Youth, is a speech given by Jawaharlal Nehru. This is an inspiring message to the youth. It deals with the significance of coordination between words and deeds. As we move into the lesson, you know that once I wrote a book called The Discovery of India. I was engaged in that quest long before I wrote that book. It was not mere curiosity that led me to that quest. I was engaged in many activities and I wanted a proper reconciliation between my activity and my thought. Thought without action is abortion. Action without thought is folly. So in this para, Jawaharlal Nehru says that there must be a proper coordination between thought and our action. So then we can get success. So he states a quote that thought without action is abortion. That means if we have a thought but we don't implement it, the thought is just wasted. And action without thought is folly. So if we do some action without thinking about it, it's a kind of foolishness. So he says that thought without action is abortion, action without thought is folly. Of course, we sometimes act on some impulse or irresponsible urge. If suddenly you throw a brick at me and my hand goes up to protect myself, it is an automatic, instinctive action and not a result of deliberate thought. Our living is conditioned by a series of automatic actions from morning till night. Anything we do outside that common range of actions, however, has to be preceded by some measure of thinking. The more action and the thought are aligned and integrated, the more effective they become and the happier you grow. There will be no inner conflict between a wish to do something and inability to act, or between thinking one way and the action another. The happiest man is he whose thinking and action are coordinated. So now the writer says that in some cases, to perform an action we don't think. Like if someone throws a brick at you, to protect ourselves we put our hands against that brick. So this is not a deliberate thought but an instantaneous action. So in our life we have some of these instantaneous actions too, which are performed without thinking anything. But every action we do to get success in that, we need to have some proper thinking. We need to think before we act. And if we have thoughts but if we don't implement it in action, so it's just waste. We must have a proper coordination between thought and our action. So whatever we do we must think and do, and whatever we think we must implement it. So both, if we don't do one of these and if there is no proper coordination between them, it's completely waste. We fail in doing that work. So he says that the happiest man is one whose action and thought are coordinated. So when these both are coordinated, we will be the happiest person. Happiness, after all, is an inner state of mind. It is little dependent on outside environment. Happiness has very little to do, for instance, with whether you are rich or not rich. Some of the most miserable persons I have come across in my life are the rich people. It is true that poverty makes one miserable in very acute way, but my point is that it is not wealth but coordination of one's thought and action which removes inner conflicts. It is in that way that integration of personality is achieved. So now this says that happiness is not something which comes by money, power, or social status. It comes by a coordinated mind and action. So it doesn't come because of it doesn't depend on money, but it depends on our mind, how we think, how we act. It depends everything on ourselves. It depends on the inner state of mind. So he says that someone who are strong in mind and healthy, they live a happy life. We were engaged, as you know, in a very great movement in India, because that movement was intimately concerned with the freedom of India. I was led to wonder what exactly is India. I knew, of course, the geography of India. I knew many other odd facts about India too. I was not prepared to accept it on faith that because I was born in India. India was the greatest country in the world. That is the kind of folly in which the people of every country indulge. There are quite enough people in India who think that India is obviously the greatest country. In the days when we were politically subject and could not take much pride in our political condition, we prided ourselves in our spiritual greatness. Having nothing else to get hold of, we took refuge in spirituality. So it is natural for one to like their country and the people of their country, and in the same way Nehru, when he participated in the freedom movement, he know everything about India. He know the positives and negatives of India, but he couldn't accept the negatives because he is born in India. So we always like our country and we are always proud of our country, and we think that our country is the best in its own way. So even if we have many negatives, we always be proud of our country, and we always choose the positives of the country, and we always like our country and our own people. If you go to other countries, I shall not name them, as I do not wish to cause offense. You will find that people they think that their country is chosen country, the torchbearer of civilization, the most advanced country, the most revolutionary country, the country with the biggest buildings, the country with something unique, some mission or other. It is natural for one to like one's own country and one's own people. I would be unnatural not to do so. It is good to be a little proud of one's own country, but it is wrong to start imagining that we are the highest and the best in the world. The fact is that every country and every people have admirable points about them. If they have great achievements to their credit, and they have also bad periods in their history. This applies not to countries only but to individuals. Nobody is perfect. Not only Indians, but if you see about other countries also, they are also proud of their country, and they also like their own country and own people. So it is not wrong to like our own country, one's own country and one's own people, and we can be a little proud of our country, but it is wrong to think that our country is the best in the world and it is the greatest than all others. So every country has its own positive points, own negatives. So every country is great in its own way. So we can't say that only one is the greatest and only one is the best. Everything is good in its own way. Nobody is perfect. He has weakness and failings. Nobody is thoroughly bad either. We are all mixtures of good and evil, but we should try to further the good in ourselves and in others. Most of you probably did not see Gandhiji at close quarters. He had amazing qualities. One of these qualities was that he managed to draw out the good in another person. The other person may have had plenty of evil in him, but he somehow spotted the good and laid emphasis on that good. The result was that that poor man had to try to be good. He could not help it. He would feel a little ashamed when he did something wrong. So nobody is perfect in this world. Everyone are mixtures of good and bad. Everyone has some good qualities and some evil qualities. So we must always try to find the good in ourselves and in others. So now the writer talks about Gandhiji, and one of his amazing qualities is that Gandhiji always tries to find the good in the others. Even a person have even a person have 99% evil qualities, Gandhiji always focuses on that 1% good quality, and he always tries to find good in everyone. So people who always seek evil in others find it. This applies to nations as well as individuals. Go to a foreign country. You are likely to find many things that you do not like. Are you going to spend your time finding out the evil in other countries, or rather in finding out the good in them and profiting yourself and others by your content? We are all much too apt to look at the evil in others, individuals, and countries rather than the good. Perhaps some of you know that saying in Bible about the person who could not see the beam in his own eye and saw the mote in others' eye. I'm sorry if you think I'm rambling, but this is, I might inform you in secret, a very clear attempt to get behind your mind. I'm at least being frank with you. So it's natural. It's natural. Everyone always try to find the evil in others, and they do not try to find the good. Even if they are bad, they always find bad in others, but they always leave good aside. But it is not correct. We always need to try. We always need to try to find the good in others and in ourselves. And it doesn't only it is not only applicable to individual person, but it is also applicable to nations. So if we to different nations also. So if we go to a foreign country, now the writer gives an example that if we go to a foreign country, we may find many evil things, evil qualities, but if we go on thinking about that, we are losing ourselves. So but if we always think about the good in the country, so we may be profitable there, and we may feel comfortable. So we always need to find the good in ourselves and in others. So he also quotes a saying from the Bible that the person who could not see the beam in his own eye and saw the mote in others' eye. So he also says a quote from the Bible about that we need to always find good in ourselves and in others also. That is how I came to write The Discovery of India, and before that I wrote my autobiography, which again was an attempt to fix myself in context of the Indian struggle. Actually, the book was more about the struggle in India than about myself. Of course, I was naturally a kind of central figure from my point of view, as everybody is from his point of view. Then I wanted a larger canvas to think about, and I wrote glimpses of world history. I'm no historian, perhaps that was as well, because there were very few historians that I know who can talk intelligently about history. They are so full of facts and figures that they are overwhelmed by them. They are lost in a forest and do not see some obvious thing because they were always crawling about in the underwood. I wrote glimpses of world history in order that I might see my country and my age in the proper perspective of world history. It was by no means a deep work, but it gave my thinking the framework of world history. Having got the larger frame, I looked more closely at my own country and wrote The Discovery of India. In it, I concentrated on my country's past and the story of its development. So now the writer explains about his books. So an autobiography. This is the book written about the struggles of India. It's not an it's named autobiography, but it's more about the struggles in India. So this is written from the writer's point of view. So he wants to expands his thinking, and then he writes the another book, Glimpses of World History. So this book mainly says about where India. From this book we could know where India is, what India is in the whole world history. So in this way he expands his thinking, and the another book, The Discovery of India. This book is completely about Indian history, the past of India and how its story of development, how India is being developed, what are the struggles, what is its past, present, and how it's being developed. I'm trying to explain to you how my thinking developed in these matters. The more I thought and the more I learned, the more I saw how little I knew and how much more there was to learn. One of my regrets today is that I have no time to pursue these studies properly by reading or thinking or writing, because writing for me is essentially an aid to thinking. In trying to write, one has to think more concisely than otherwise. So he is telling all about his writings because he just want to explain how his thinking was expanded in all these matters. So he says that the more he think about this, the more he learn about this, and he could write more. So he says that writing is an essential aid to thinking. So if we think more, we could learn more about anything. I suppose I must not complain of my present lot. What I would like you to do first of all is to think. Thinking is something which does not come automatically to a person. Gossiping with a neighbor is not thought. If you repeat something which somebody else has said, it is not thought. I do not expect all of you to become mighty thinkers, though some of you may. But I would like all of you to think and to develop the art of thinking. Nothing is more helpful to thinking than reading. That is, reading intelligently, because thereby you get other people's thoughts, and by weighing them you can think yourself. I often said that it is very unfortunate that people think and read so little nowadays, especially in India. I do not call newspaper reading, but any reading which makes you think is useful reading, even if it is a very good novel. Great novels always make one thing, because they are pictures of life painted by great minds. The writer wants us to think. Thinking is not which comes automatically to a person, but we need to develop the art of thinking. So gossiping to neighbors is not at all a thinking, because repeating what someone said others is not a thinking, but the best way to think is to read. But the newspaper reading is not called reading, but reading some great novels makes us think. So we must read some novels, and we must develop the art of thinking. If you think about the 5-year plans, you will find what a vital part the engineer plays in them. We shall require tens of thousands of engineers and hundreds of thousands of overseas mechanics and other technicians for our plants. The whole world is becoming more and more a world of trained people. They need to be trained in two ways. They must be trained in mind and have some vision and understanding of the world picture. Then they must be trained in particular jobs which they can do well, whether it be science or engineering or medicine or education. Such are the skills which will build India. Frankly, the job of politician will not build India. Although I speak as a politician is a useful person in his own way. Though it is conceivable that in a perfect society the politician will fade away, but it is not conceivable that the experts will fade away. There will always a need for the engineer and the scientist. They cannot fade away even if the politician may fade away. However, I do not think the time is near when the politician will fade away. So Nehru says to thinkers all about the 5-year plan, and everyone must be trained in two ways. The first one is they must be trained in mind, and they must have some knowledge about the world. And the other thing, they must be trained in a professional way. So they must be trained in the job which they can do well. So that this helps in the progress of India. And as he is a politician, he says that a politician is not the one who can develop the country. So he says that the country is in need of skilled workers. Even the politicians fade away, these skilled workers like engineers, doctors, they may not fade away. You are young. I should like you to have the pride of the youth and the ambition of youth to do something worthwhile and big. All of you may not be geniuses, but some of you might yet do worthwhile things in some department of human activity or other. I do not like people who have no pride and ambition and are just sloppy people. I'm not using the words pride and ambition in a small personal sense. I do not mean the pride of getting money, which is the silliest of all types of pride. Pride should consist in doing your job in the best possible manner. If you are a scientist, think of becoming an Einstein, not merely a reader in your university. If you are a medical man, think of some discovery which will bring healing to the human race. If you are an engineer, aim at some new invention. The mere act of aiming at something big makes you big. Who says to youth that everyone must have the pride of youth and everyone must have the ambition to do something big. Here the pride doesn't refer to the pride of getting money, but the pride should be in the job which we do. We must do our job in the best possible way. And if someone thinks of becoming someone thinks becoming of a scientist, he must think of an Einstein, and he must become another Einstein, but not just reading in the university. And if one thinks of becoming a medical man, he must discover something new which is helpful to the humans. And if one thinks of becoming an engineer, he must think of a new invention which is helpful. So aiming at something big makes you big. If my colleagues and I and others who function on the public stage today appear big leaders to you, look back on how we became so. We may have had some virtue and some ability, but essentially we become what we were because we had some ambition and pride, because we hitched our wagon to a star, because we tried to do big things, and in so trying our stature increased a little. We always think Nehru, and about when we think about all others, great politicians or great people. So we think they are great people, but we must know how they became great. So there is much hard work. They have the capability to do so, and they think they had aimed to become that. So they became that because of their hard work, because of their thinking, and because of their pride, and they have some ambition to do. So they were always fixed to that ambition, and they moved. So they became great people. So we must also do in the same way. We must aim high and act accordingly, so we make a success in our life. It is not what you say that matters, but what you do. Think therefore of the vast opportunities that the world offers to those who are keen of mind, strong of character, and fleet of foot. Think of the opportunity that India offers. I know better than you of the difficult problems of India, the suffering and misery of numberless people. We are trying to meet those problems and solve them, not by magic, but by strong will and hard work. There is no magic in this world except the occasional magic of human personality and the human mind. It takes time and perseverance to do big things. It will not do to be faint-hearted. One meets with failure occasionally, but one has yet to go on. Success does not come suddenly or without setbacks. So you have these great opportunities in India. Prepare yourself for them. Grow strong in mind and body. Have that inner urge to do big things, and I have no doubt that you will do big things. So what you say doesn't matter, but what you do is all matters. And the whole world is in need of skilled professionals, so everyone must be well trained. And India has also many great opportunities. So before independence, we all as Indians, we might be thinking that India is the greatest country in the world, but now we must focus on all the numerous problems of our country. And these problems cannot be solved by some magic or something, but it can be solved by strong willpower and hard work. So as a citizen of our country, everyone must contribute their best for the progress of our country. And so if one has the urge to do big things, no doubt they will do big things, but to do some big things, it takes some time and perseverance. Nehru concludes by saying that everyone must develop the art of thinking through extensive reading, and many obstacles may come, but we must overcome them through strong willpower and hard work. And when we must all be hungry for success. And thus, this is the summary of the lesson. I hope everyone understood. Thank you everyone. Stay home, stay safe.